right, so he was a mob boss back east. He worked for the Bronfman family, which is Seagram's Alcohol. Everybody knows that name probably. Heiresses to the Seagram's fortune are very close to the Clinton family, to Hillary Clinton, and they were involved in the Nexium sex trafficking scandals. So even going that far back and then to present day, you can kind of see how the corruption has just continued forward. So Meyer Lansky's number one guy was Bugsy Siegel. He sent him out to Vegas and to California to open those markets back in like the 30s and 40s. Their number one guy was Kemper Marley down here in Arizona. He was a respected businessman, but he was a mob guy. And that's just how business gets done, right? It's organized crime, and that's just how it happens. So Kemper Marley's number one guy was a gentleman by the name of Jim Hensley. And Jim and Kemper got into some trouble back in I think it was the 50s. And they got in trouble with the feds and some racketeering stuff. And Jim took the fall, and because he didn't roll over on Kemper, when all that blew over, Kemper Marley gave him the liquor distributorship here in the Southwest. And that's now known as Hensley Brewing, the largest Budweiser distributorship. Well, Jim had a daughter, and her name was Cindy. And Cindy married a guy named John. John McCain, for those who don't know. So you wonder where all John's power and money came from. It came from the mob, organized crime. Yes. So for the last 30, 40 years in our state, you had the McCain machine being built out, using the power structure of the mob and all their money and control in this state. And that's really where our Republican Party came from. So everyone who sits there and wants to say, we got it, oh, the Republicans, Republican. Yeah, okay, well, that's organized crime. The GOP is organized crime. They still have the control, they still have the money, and they're still running the same scams. So then you had a gentleman by the name of Doug Roscoe from Ohio. When his mom was 5 years old, his mom remarried, and he took his adopted dad's last name of Ducey. Now, the Roscoe family in Ohio is a crime family, so another mob family. Yeah, out of Toledo. And the Ducey family also has some corruption as well. I think they're law enforcement, but there's some corruption there as well. So both sides of his family are corrupt. When he was in college, he came out to Arizona State University, and they immediately plugged him into Hensley Brewing as an intern. So right away, you got Doug Roscoe, mob-connected family, being plugged right into the Arizona Mafia. So they groomed him, they put him into a private business CEO position with Cold Stone Creamery. Then they got him elected as the state treasurer and then as governor. So you've got essentially a mob connected, and call it what it is, he's effectively a mob boss running our state. There's some other pieces that will connect too. So in May of 2002, and this starts to now talk to the question you had earlier, is 36-787. That was signed in May of 2002 by former Governor Jane Hull. So former Governor Jane Hull signs this legislation that gives the current governor the unconstitutional powers that he's exercising right now in May. 2 months later, Jane Hull, along with some other influential and wealthy Arizona individuals, took about $80 to $90 million and formed a nonprofit called TGen. So who's heard of TGen? Okay. So when the whole coronavirus scam kicked off, myself and others that I work with were very instrumental in doing the research to expose the TGen scam. We figured out where all that federal money was coming from. Well, when they formed TGen back in 2002, and so think about the time frame. You talked about the Patriot Act, Irene, 2001. Well, in 2002, in June, they formed that, and the specific reason that TGen was formed was to test and trace for coronavirus. It's almost 20 years ago. The number one benefactor of TGen is an organization called City of Hope. Okay? Well, guess who the number one benefactor of City Hope is? Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So you follow the money straight down. TGen's based here in Arizona. I mean, they're right inside each of our universities. That's like the incubator. So you've got all that money flowing straight down to TGen. And guess who controls where the federal bailout coronavirus scam money goes? Doug Roscoe. Guess who's on the board of TGen? Doug Roscoe. You start connecting all these pieces, and it's one big money shift, money grab, and it's all corruption. Well, now we'll go back to 1999, and former CIA Director George Tenet formed a private venture capital firm called In-Q-Tel. It's IN-Q-T-E-L. That private venture capital firm was formed by the CIA to invest and purchase technology that would be advantageous for the deep state. George Tenet, the CIA director, appointed a man by the name of Michael Crow as chairman of the board with In-Q-Tel. 3 years later, that same Michael Crow was appointed president of Arizona State University.
Right.
The largest state university, and I think in the country, right? The largest state university in the country. So for the last 20 years, and by the way, he's still chairman of the board of In-Q-Tel. And he's also president of ASU. So for the last 20 years, we've effectively had a CIA asset running our largest university. All of the technology, the techno-fascist technology that they're utilizing on us right now, as a result of 2001 Patriot Act, as a result of 2002 emergency bill, they've been funneling all that technology up through our universities, both U of A, ASU, and NAU. So they've been running. I mean, this didn't all just pop up. What I'm getting at is, think of the timeline. This is 20 years ago. Coronavirus didn't just pop up last year in 2019. All of a sudden, oh, there's an emergency. No, they've been working on this for a long time. This isn't just the United States. This is a global scam they're running on us. So we got to understand, this is all the background of our state. Why all Arizona? Why is Arizona so important? A lot of corruption here. Comes up from the southern border. We've got a southern border. So you've got cartel money influence. You've got Koch brothers money influence. You've got mob money influence. You've got DC money influence. Now we've got China money influence. I mean, you guys see all this money coming in here, and Ducey's kind of at the middle of it, but really Michael Crow is probably the one running him. So we got a problem in Arizona, right? Now here we got the Republican Party. What are they doing to help? Unfortunately, they're not. In fact, they're running cover. The Republican Party is running cover for this corruption. Bottom line. Now what starts to hurt is people that we think we support or we like that aren't doing anything to help us. So, speaking of the vaccines, I want everyone to watch this real quick. Let me get this loaded up. Bear with me 1 second here. So I'm going to show you this video. It's about the vaccines.
That we will have enough vaccine, and in very short order, we as you know, we came in office without knowledge of how much vaccine was being held in abeyance or available. Now that we're here, we've been around a week or so, we now have that. And we've got commitments from some of the producers that they will in fact produce more vaccine in a relatively short period of time and then continue that down the road. So I'm quite confident that we will be in a position within the next 3 weeks or so to be vaccinating people at the range of 1 million a day or in excess of that. That is I promised that we would get at least 100 million vaccinations. That's not people, because sometimes you need more than one shot of vaccination. But 100 million shots in people's arms of the vaccine. I think with
Can we all just say, fuck you, Biden?
All right. How do we feel about that video?
Fuck you, Biden!
I mean, how does that make you feel, right? He's talking 100 million vaccinations, 1 million a day. So, I mean, I think you said it. That's how we all feel, right? So if that's how we feel hearing it from him, listen to this.
In fact, the director of National Institutes of Health, Francis Collins, he's Fauci's boss, actually. I think he's a Democrat, too, by the way. Recently said that our Operation Warp Speed was absolutely breathtaking, and that the Trump administration deserves full credit. Which we do. And as conservatives and Republicans,
Hold the mic up.
never forget that we did it. Never let them take the credit because they don't deserve the credit. They just followed now, they're following our plan, but this has been something that they really call it an absolute miracle. Joe Biden is only implementing the plan that we put in place. And if we had an honest media, which we don't, they would say it loud and clear. By the time I left that magnificent house at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, almost 20 million Americans had already been vaccinated. 1.5 million doses were administered on my final day alone. 1.5 million in a day. Yet Biden said just a few days ago that when he got here, meaning the White House, there was no vaccine. He said, there's no vaccine? Oh, good. Say it again, Joe. Now, I don't think he said that, frankly, in a malicious way. I really don't. I absolutely believe he said that because he didn't really know what the hell was happening. Never let them forget this was us. We did this. And the distribution is moving along according to our plan. And it's moving along really well. We had the military, what they've done, our generals, and all of the people, what they've done is incredible. But remember, we took care of a lot of people, including, I guess, on December 21st, we took care of Joe Biden. Because he got his shot, he got his vaccine, he forgot. It shows you how unpainful that vaccine shot is, so everybody go get your shot. He forgot, so it wasn't very traumatic, obviously, but he got his shot. And it's good that he got his shot. Last year, I predicted to you that the extremist corruption and...
Not enough of that. So, what do you say? What do we say?
My honest opinion is I think Donald Trump believes the lies when they told him, we're going to get it, we're going to do it real quick, and you're going to get it by such and such date, when it was already designed and it was ready to be shipped out.
I don't care what he believes. What'd you say? What'd you say, sir? What did you say, sir, about Biden?
Same thing about Trump.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I voted for President Trump. I voted for him twice. And out here trying to expose this scam that they just ran on us through this election rigging. He's, in my estimation, still president from the aspect of who won. He won. But that I can't excuse that. Okay? And this was on Sunday. Did everybody watch that speech?
Yes. I turned it off.
It made me sick, to be quite honest. I sat there and I watched what he had to say, and I was disgusted because this is what we're fighting against. This is what Irene, this is what Felicia, Erlene, all the rest of them fight against constantly. This is damaging to us as Americans, and we're condoning it because it's President Trump. When I say we, the Republican Party, they condone this. These people are clapping. You hear them clapping. Yeah, go Trump. What if Biden was up there saying the same thing? Would they be clapping? Yeah, go Biden? No, it's called cognitive dissonance. So my point here is that our Republican Party, and before this, and I didn't play this part, but for those that watched it, Trump talked about not forming a third party.
Right.
That's great. I don't see President Trump here in Arizona fixing our problems for us. In fact, if anything, he just set Arizona way back. Because he just gave cover to the Arizona establishment, GOP, by not calling out the corruption in Arizona and saying, nope, support the Republicans. How many endorsements did he make of establishment swamp creatures over the last 4 years?
Sally.
McSally, McCain, Romney, who else? McConnell, Ducey, Kelly Ward. I mean, the list is so long of the swamp creatures this man has endorsed. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, he's a part of the problem now. And I like the guy. I mean, trust me, I'm a supporter. I don't want this. The problem is we have to call it for what it is. We can't go easy on him just because we like him. And he's not helping Arizona now. And that's what frustrates me more than anything. Is now I'm hearing constant, over the last couple of days, all I hear is, well, President Trump said this. I don't care what President Trump said. Again, President Trump's not in Arizona fixing our problems. Well, he's not helping our cause. He's not helping our cause.
He's working for the country.
He's not helping he's not helping Arizona. He's providing cover for the GOP establishment. When he says we're going to be endorsing a lot of good Republicans,
We gotta help
and
ourselves.
he doesn't call out any corruption in Arizona, but he calls it out in other states, to me, that's intentional. That's from my perspective. He came to this state so many times, and he stood right up next to Ducey, and he endorsed her, endorsed him, endorsed McSally, Ward.
You put Ducey down unless you didn't miss that meeting.
Did you miss the entire time he campaigned for him?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Francine. I'm sorry.
I watched some of that where he actually ended up putting Ducey down.
Only
That was
recently.
way
Only
late.
after the fact.
That was way late.
Only after it was too late.
When he ignored Trump's
So
phone call.
I don't want to get off. I want to get off the trail here. Where I'm going with this is that until we decide that we're going to do something different to hold the Republican Party, our own family. It's like our own family, right? I'm still a Republican. Who's still a Republican in here?
No, I'm not a Republican. I'm signed up.
I'm still a Republican. I'm still an elected precinct committeeman.
So am I.
And I want to talk about how the GOP has maintained control in this state for so long. So I gave you the history of all the corruption and who the players are. McCain. I mean, he built the McCain machine, as they call it, right? So one thing to talk about, as far as this whole vaccine, just to clean this up and move on from the vaccines, is that there are so many people that are being injured by these right now. I mean, we had a story. Someone came and told us while we were actually out collecting the Bowers petition signatures yesterday. She was an EMT, and her husband's a truck driver, but she's an EMT, and she is specifically told by her company not to call in over the radio any vaccine injuries.
It's her number one call right now.
Number one call they're getting
Number one
right now.
call.
They're transport. That's their number one call, but they are not allowed to call it in over the radio. They have to have
Private.
a private channel that they call that they make these calls on. You've got nurses in private chat groups on Facebook talking about how they got the vaccine and they're not feeling good. Oh, they're really sick. They got all these symptoms, but don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Don't you dare say a word. Just stay at home and be sick.
25 teachers at my wife's school went down.
25 teachers at his wife's school took the vaccine and they had to call out of work because of it. Elderly are dying. So this is the problem, is that our Republican Party is not calling out this corruption. And then we now go to the election rigging topic. And this is, to me, the bigger issue, because as a representative republic, we're only a republic if we have representation that we elect in a free and fair election system, which we no longer now have. We are now, to me, a banana republic. It's a de facto government both at the state and the federal level. So how do we fix that? Well, we've got to first expose who's in charge of this and who the corruption is and how the Republican Party has maintained control, and then help push them back in the right direction. Number one question I get is, well, you're going to split the vote. I mean, that's what President Trump said in the speech, right? Oh, why would you do that? You're just going to split the vote. Well, that's not what we're going to do. As Stacey explained in the video earlier, what we're going to do is we're going to be the police in the rearview mirror for the GOP. Because what do you do anytime you see a cop car in your rearview mirror? Slow down, drive straighter, you act right. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be the cops in the rearview mirror. And the way we're going to do that is by holding them accountable and calling out the bad actors. Because what was Reagan's rule? Somebody tell me what Reagan's rule was. Well, what was his rule about a Republican?
Never speak ill of another.
Never speak ill of another Republican. Well, look where that got us. And I constantly on Facebook all the time, and there people come to me, well, you are terrible talking about another Republican that way. I say, that's your problem, not mine. I mean, I won't.
Freedom of speech.
But it's constant. It's constant. I take more hate because I hold Republicans accountable than when I try to hold the Democrats accountable. We already know they're so far gone, right? I mean, we already know that the current Democrat Party is really a communist party. They're no longer the JFK Democrat Party. A lot of them are coming over to us. To be honest, the independents, the JFK Democrats, they don't recognize their old party. So we've now got to clean up our own backyard. That's our job. And this is Arizona. A part of the Constitution is the 10th Amendment, and our founders really wanted us to be a sovereign state and to come together as a United States. But they wanted us to be sovereign here in Arizona. So DC is far gone. Daniel said this before. DC is very far gone.
Yeah.
We at this point now have to take care of Arizona. The way we do that is by holding the right people accountable and calling out the corruption. So number one, the Republican Party, the way they maintain control, and this is good for you guys to take out on the streets to be able to explain to Republicans when they come to you and say, you're just going to divide the vote and you're going to let Democrats win. Well, they say, fix it from within, right? Did everybody hear that a lot? Fix it from within. So how does that work? They say, go become a PC. Well, how does that work? So you become a precinct committeeman. By raise of hands, who's a precinct committeeman? Who's a state committeeman? Okay, so we got about half in here. The way it works is each legislative district, and they're organized up on that map up there, each legislative district has a certain allocation for precinct committeemen. There's precincts within each legislative district. When you become a precinct committeeman, you'll have an election every year, but every 2 years for the leadership in that LD. They have what's called a proxy vote. Does anybody know what a proxy vote is? Okay. So a proxy is when you can't make the meeting or attend the meeting and you want your vote to count, so you give your vote by proxy to another precinct committeeman to take and cast your vote. The way that most people think that works is that your proxy vote is your vote the way you intended, right? That's what you would think. I'm handing my friend my vote, they're going to vote the way I want. That is not how it works. The way it works is that proxy vote is how they want to vote. Now, maybe they're your good friend or your spouse, family member, and they say, I will vote the way you want, and you're trusting them to do so, but that's not the way the system was designed by the McCain machine. The McCain machine designed it that they could ballot harvest.
Yep.
They're harvesting votes for the establishment. So I'll give an example. I'm an LD 28. That is the heart of the AZ Swamp. It's McCain's old district. It's Ducey's current district, Brnovich. It's like all the usual suspects. Kate Brophy McGee. Bad news. Yeah, I need better neighbors, right? So we just had our elections. I ran for first vice chair. Nicole Garcia, who's running for Phoenix City Council,
Woo!
Yeah.
Gotta get her in.
ran for chair. We gotta get her in.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone else in Phoenix that's bad. She ran for chair. I ran for first vice chair. I said, hey, let's get elected. We'll clean this mess up. Well, we had a virtual election because, oh my God, COVID, oh my gosh, we can't meet in person. So that should take away the excuse for proxies right there, right?
Yep.
Because the whole excuse is I can't make the meeting.
Right.
It's a freaking virtual meeting. How can you not make that? So 226 votes came in for that election.
Wow, that's a lot.
A lot. How many do you think were proxy?
Oh, about
200.
200 at least.
114.
Oh, my.
Over half of the votes were proxy votes.
Oh, my God.
Not one conservative got into a state committeeman position, and sure as heck didn't get into any leadership positions in that LD. That's how the Republican Party maintains control.
Right.
That's now just at the LD level.
Yep.
Then you go to the county, and then ultimately the state. Well, at the state, we just had our state meeting back in January. Who was there? Or who watched?
Oh, I watched. Or I tracked it.
Okay. So the state meeting, 1,300 registered votes. How many proxy votes of the 1,300 do you think there were?
Oh, at least 900.
500, roughly.
Over 500.
Good, over 500. So over 40% of the votes at the state level electing our state Republican leadership were by proxy. Now, at the state meeting, you literally have people showing up, and they when they check in, they hand them the badge, and they hand them the badge of the proxy. So you got these people that have all these badges around their neck, like they're cool, like they're like the cool kid at school with all these badges. It's disgusting. Yeah, it's unclear. It's disgusting. Because that's ballot harvesting. That's ballot harvesting for Republicans. Well, who do Republicans always accuse of being the cheaters when it comes to ballot harvesting?
Democrats.
Democrats. They always, oh no, it's Democrats are ballot harvesting. Look at them. Guess what? It's the Republicans doing it.
Sounds like Jesus would be out of him.
There it is. A speck out of your own eye, right? Glass houses.
Right.
So they're the ones doing it, but that's how they maintain control at the party level in this state, is through proxy votes.
That's right.
You will never out-proxy them. Okay, so that's the big thing, is people think you can fix it from within. There's a few people in this state that are out there right now preaching, just go recruit more PCs.
And remind them that they tried to remove those proxies.
Oh, good point.
Again.
So at the state meeting, they tried to remove the proxies, or at least limit it to 3, which I think it should be 0. There's really no excuse for a proxy.
It failed.
They tried to remove it, they voted on it, and what happened?
The proxies
The
won.
proxies outvoted. So you cannot beat this rigged system. They've rigged it to where it's unbeatable at this point. I mean, my parents are here, they've been doing this for 30, 40 years. They've seen it.
I want to share one thing too. Part of it is there are alternates when you are become a state committee
Right.
member. There is also alternates that could take your place, but they don't have to give it to the alternate. They can give their proxy to somebody else.
Right. They can
Oh
send
my
some
God.
out.
So there's no excuse to have proxies, but there is a way that they get around it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a rigged system. It's what they've done strategically. It's the McCain machine that came into this state and figured out how they could maintain control, and they've been doing this for decades.
Yep.
You will not fix this system from within.
Systems that were made to benefit us are now benefiting them.
Well, yes, they've co-opted and they control these systems. So what we're doing as the Patriot Party, this is a long lead up to why us and how are we going to do this. So the Patriot Party is going to say, okay, no more of the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, because that's all this is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the real constitutional conservatives from the Republican Party, we're going to take them outside of that corrupt system, give them an environment where they can flourish and grow and really see, understand how this game works. Because all they do is they get lied to and say, oh, just go do this, go get another PC, or oh, go door knock for this person. Give us more money. That's not how it works. You've seen, as according to Ross, how impactful we can be as activists. See, the Republican Party never holds their own accountable. Like Ross said, that's not what they're designed to do. So, for example, we're recalling Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers. If you're a party, like the Republican Party, and you have a platform, and you're a member of the party, you subscribe to that platform. If you're elected as a Republican under that platform, you better subscribe to that platform. But if you don't, you start to stray away, who should be the first to hold them accountable? The party, the chair. So Kelly Ward, failing in her duties to hold her own party accountable. So I'm doing her job for her. We're doing her job for her. That's what we're doing. I told her, I said, Kelly, I'm going to keep doing your job until you decide to do it, or we remove you. And the way we remove her is by growing such a large base of Patriot Party membership to where we, in one fell swoop, go back in and we take over every legislative district in the state at one time. So it's not that hard once you've got that base.
And rewrite the platform.
And then you rewrite. Well, you correct the bylaws, right? You fix the bylaws and you vote out all the bad actors. You replace it with true conservatives, what the Republican Party should be. And then we don't have to have a Patriot Party, right? Because we are. I mean, the Patriot Party is what the Republican Party should be. And that's our goal. We don't want to run candidates in the general. That's the big thing, splitting the vote. That's not our intention. The only time we would run a candidate would be in an instance where there is not a candidate for the Republican Party. Like down in southern Arizona, there's a lot of districts where they don't even bother. Republican Party doesn't even bother.
Right.
Well, that's sad. That's sad to me, and they're very frustrated down in southern Arizona.
Yeah, they are.
we met with Garrett Lewis, who's on the radio down there, and some other people, and they're really frustrated because the Republican Party doesn't even try. Doesn't even provide any, you got Justine Wadsack ran for state senate, no support from the GOP.
Right.
And then guess what? No support from Kelly Ward. She reached out to her so many times saying, hey, I need some help down here. I need some help down here. I can win. No help.
Chris King also.
Chris King, but
Well,
there's a problem there too, but Rhino. So
Pew.
Justine though. Justine's a solid conservative. She's a member of the Patriot Party, but she ran as a Republican. Begged and begged and begged for help. No response from Kelly Ward. Well, guess what? Kelly Ward's running for the Republican Party chair. Guess who she's begging for her help, for her vote? She's begging Justine. She's like, you gotta be kidding me. It's ridiculous. I asked you for help for how long? Now you want my vote? It's ridiculous. So the times we would run a candidate would be in an instance where they're not running anybody down in southern Arizona, for example, or in the primaries. This is what we're doing, is we're putting up the true constitutional conservatives as a Republican in the primary, in the Republican primary, to get them past the establishment candidates. That's our ultimate goal. But what does the Republican Party do?
block us.
They block you. They play games in the primary. That's where they control you, is in the primary. If they can get their establishment candidate through the primary to the general, doesn't matter who wins to them, because it's the elites up here, the uniparty. The uniparty's working against you, and it doesn't matter left or right, red or blue, as long as they get their person and they win. So, like they did. I mean, who voted for Daniel McCarthy?
Yeah.
I did.
Most of the room.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of weird he didn't win.
Yeah, it is.
Because Kelly Ward and the AZ GOP actively campaigned not only against him, but for Martha McSally in a contested Republican primary. They showed extreme bias. They are not supposed to do that. So let's say they continue to do that. Say they continue to play those games in the primary. There will be instances, and this is a scorched earth mentality. This is a very aggressive maneuver, but it has to be done. We will run a Patriot Party candidate in the general against a Republican to ensure the Democrat wins.
That's right.
We will run a Patriot Party candidate in the general against the establishment GOP candidate to split their vote so the Democrat wins. But we only want to do that in the most extreme of circumstances, and we don't want to do it more than a couple of times strategically to show them that we're not playing games, that the people aren't going to take it anymore.
It's kind of what we did with McSally. The art of
It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. And I get it, it's not fun, right? That's a hard one to do, to say, yeah, we're going to take a few hits. But if we continue just to kick the can down the road and allow them to leverage us in the vote red, you just got to vote for the Republican, the best, the worst Republican's better than the best Democrat.
The choice is theirs.
Mix out. I mean, I didn't plug my nose personally. I won't plug my nose anymore. I won't vote for rhinos. I just won't do it. So at this point, that's our strategy. And I wanted to give the history of why. I mean, I've been researching this for 20 plus years. As far as like the mob, I mean, I've known about all this. Over the last year, all these pieces have come full circle. All the dots have been connected with the coronavirus scam. And really this goes to a globalist agenda through, UN Agenda 21, 2030, whatever they want to call it these days. This is a global takedown of a free people. And America and Arizona, they're going to be really the last stand against this global effort. So we've got to fight. We've got to fight here. We've got to worry about Arizona. We can't worry about DC at this point. We've got to worry about Arizona. So any questions?
What is your name, sir?
Steve Daniels. I'm the pro tem chairman of the Patriot Party of Arizona.
Thank you.
Right now, currently, there's two questions. Do you know how many pages that the Republican Party's platform is?
It's like 80, isn't it?
No, 200 and something.
Oh my goodness, I thought it was only 80.
No. Now, do you know how it started?
Well, real quick, and I appreciate everybody's time. I know it's getting late, so don't feel like you have to stay around. It's kind of Q&A session. So I do thank everyone. However, one quick call to action
for tomorrow.
The SCR 1001, which is to end the emergency order by Ducey, is going to a floor vote tomorrow in the Senate. Please tonight go home and email and call your senators. All of them. Like, call as many as you can, email as many as you can. Say, you need to support this. You need to vote for this.
To the Senate, tomorrow.
In the Senate, SCR 1001.
It's to end the emergency.
1001 is to end the state of emergency in Arizona. This is very important. That vote is tomorrow. I don't know what time exactly, but please contact your senators tonight in the morning first thing and urge them to support this and vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
do
to finish your
50-50 so that people that want to leave can.
50-50, let's do that. Yeah, I'll do my Q&A right after this. I apologize, guys. Final call, 50-50. Going once.